moving back to We Bear Bears for this month, I'm going to be reviewing Panda's art, and this is the first time I'm going to be talking about Charlie in this episode. Some of you guys are mostly disappointed that I'm not talking about Charlie's first appearance in the first season, but let's be honest, that episode isn't really that good, and I actually need to give Charlie some kind of credibility when it comes to his other appearances, including this one, the credit that he deserves. Because in my opinion, he really isn't a hateable character. He's mostly a tolerable character, just with a good voice. But you all know that the voice acting in most of these cartoons are really good. The episode begins with Panda showing off his creativity in art, which gave him a C-. But then again, it's not an F, so it really goes to show that not every human in San Francisco is really disrespectful and rude to the bears. Panda needs to find someone to pose so that he can make his art really believable. I gotta say, it is understandable where people have to stay still in order to have the artist draw the art so that they can actually make it in perfection. And believe me, I've seen this so many times from movies and TV shows, and to me, it's literally the only way to make art really perfection, whether you can really see something in front of you and then draw it out in art. Or painting, whatever you prefer. And when Charlie arrives, this actually gave Panda an idea by completely making a painting of Charlie eating cheese puffs. Yeah. All because of a lighting from the window that actually gives him the inspiration to make something out of art. Hey, if this is possible, then anything can happen. So after a very cute montage of Panda completely doing the drawing while Charlie blushes while he's staying still, he actually gets an A+ in his art class. He gives it to Charlie as a token of his friendship. And considering that this is development between Charlie and Panda, I'm gonna get to that later in this video. But it didn't last long as Panda gets a phone call from his teacher. She told him that his art is so good that his creator is about to come over in order to take the painting to an exhibit that can actually make Panda really famous. So this is basically what in Toy Story 2, while Al is about to sell Woody and the other of Woody's Roundup to a museum that they will be memorized by children for ages and ages. Although, at the same time, Panda isn't like Al because he actually does something good in this, and there's really no villain whatsoever in this episode. So the difference is that this is mainly Panda and Charlie shipping fuel at the second half of this episode. This episode makes me appreciate the relationship between Charlie and Panda, but I don't usually ship them as much as other ships in other cartoons. The decision of what Panda needs to deal with on taking the art that he created to an exhibit or having Charlie keep it forever is honestly a really difficult task. Because at the same time, you usually want to see Panda to be successful in front of so many people with the talent that he chose to go with. But on the other hand, he wants to have Charlie keep the art in order to make him feel better after all the time that he used Charlie in order to make the painting of his perfection. In the earlier seasons of the show, we've seen that Panda and Charlie usually bicker at each other. Well, mostly Panda bickering at Charlie while Charlie's just trying to be a nice friend to Panda. In the first appearance of Charlie, which is in the episode Charlie, he kept Panda up all night all because he kept using the bathroom constantly. And in another episode where he tries to escort Panda to the waffle restaurant where Grizz and Ice Bear are at, he accidentally destroyed Panda's eye contact lens and takes him to a cat store where he's extremely allergic to cats. Not to mention that he's having a difficult time to heading to the destination since that he dropped Panda's phone into the sewers. But in this episode, Panda is just trying to do something nice for Charlie after spending hours of the painting that he made with Charlie eating cheese puffs. And when he tries to do the painting again, it just really goes to show that you can't do the same painting twice. And believe me, even if I was in kindergarten or in first to fourth grade, I made the same drawing again and again, and they're always different no matter how many times I've done it. And I have to admit, the scene where the paintings talk to him in his hallucination is really hilarious, where you completely see that he wants to do the right thing by having Charlie keep the painting, but on the other hand, wants the painting to be delivered to his two teachers. If I were ever in a situation where I'm an artist and not a video maker, where I make paintings of beautiful art and I give them to my best friend, but also have a choice into taking that painting to an exhibit, I will probably discuss my friends on what's really important when it comes to the route that I have to take. And this episode actually does give some inspiration on Panda being a very sympathetic character, on trying to be popular in front of so many people, but not in the way of what he did along with Grizz and Icebell in the movie. And when he had a change of heart of taking the painting away from the teacher who was about to deliver to the exhibit, he accidentally placed his muddy hand on the painting, causing a mud stain on it, which means that the entire painting is ruined. And he also gets an F+. I know I said that all the humans aren't mean to the bears, but I only said that because the teacher graded Panda's other drawings, not the painting that he drew that involved Charlie. And when he saw Charlie, who was trying to find the painting, he actually accepts the painting even more, since that the mud stain is actually an autograph signature from Panda. And I have to admit, that actually does kind of make sense, since that Panda's hands are different from Charlie's hands. And the episode ends with the two characters getting along at the end, and Panda is still trying to develop his relationship with Charlie just a little bit more in front of Grizz and Icebell. It's actually kind of cute whenever you can be able to look at these scenes, the more and more if you're a fan of this show. This is one of the best episodes that features Charlie in this show. Granted, he doesn't do much in this episode, but on the other hand, it's mostly Panda just trying to succeed his goal, but also just trying to make Charlie feel better. And through episodes after this involving Charlie and Panda, I am going to be looking forward into reviewing episodes that involves the pairing between these two, but on the other hand, it's going to take time for me to actually feel very invested when it comes to the pairing of Panda and Charlie. Like I said, I am or might do We Bear Bears Month in July of this year, but on the other hand, there's so much changes going on at the moment, so don't expect We Bear Bears Month to happen sooner or later. For me personally, this episode is not only a good Charlie and Panda episode, but also an episode that we can actually take inspiration and relatability from Panda, since we have to deal with the choice of having someone keep the art or have the art being delivered to an exhibit. But then again, we probably went through that situation when we're artists as well. But for me personally, I was an artist, but not like what Panda was in this episode. I give this episode an 8 out of 10. Let's get this started again. Me and my